It may be quite obvious that certain of the animals in Hung Gar have certain movements, certain footwork and hand positions attributed to them. In most cases, these may be quite easy to recognize, particularly for the tiger, snake, crane, and leopard. However, in my previous video, I talked a little bit about the character of the animals as a key consideration for their actions, their role, and the intent in Hung Gar. So when we incorporate the particular character of the animal into the relevant movement, by simply bringing it to mind, it influences the way our action is performed. However, for the dragon, this is not so obvious. And there are several different opinions about how the dragon is represented in Hung Gar. Before I explain that to you, I want to talk briefly about the concept of hard versus soft in relation to the animals. As you can see here on this, I've tried to graph here the different relationships between hard and soft. On the vertical axis, it goes from soft to hard. And if I look at the animals in that same scale, then particularly the snake, crane, leopard, and tiger, you can see that the most soft of the animals is actually the snake. And I guess that's fairly evident when you consider the suppleness of the snake's body and so on. That's not to say that their strike doesn't have a very high degree of hardness at the point of impact. But relative to the other animals, the other three animals at least, the snake is quite reasonably soft. Next comes the crane, then the leopard, and then the tiger. And if we consider that what I'm meaning here by soft is there's likely less strength and force involved. It's more defensive an approach. There's probably more technique because you're not actually trying to hit something and so on. You're trying to evade and perhaps redirect the opponent's force. So there's likely to be fewer direct hits with this particular approach, but it requires a much higher degree of accuracy and also a manipulation of the opponent. And it will result perhaps in less damage to the opponent's body. It doesn't mean that the softness means you're not going to win the battle. By definition, the less hard it is, perhaps the less damage there is to the opponent's body. In contrast, if we look at hardness, we see that there's actually more strength involved and more force involved compared to softness. It is more likely to be offensive. Even the blocks could be stronger. And there's more direct attacks and direct hits. The counterattacks can be used as a form of defense, and there's more likely damage to the opponent's body. If we then consider the dragon in terms of all the other animals, it has the ability of all the other animals combined, as well as superior intelligence. And one of its key skills is its ability to master and apply various strategies and also techniques to control and overcome the opponent. The concept of the dragon is somewhat complex, and particularly when you try and appreciate what movements may represent the dragon. It has its own distinct application of energy. And I recall many years ago, Chanan Chung explaining the dragon by using the analogy of a term that's called yin yang. And the literal translation of this is actually intimate behavior, which of itself doesn't explain it very well. However, the principle is very meaningful if we analyze and look a little bit deeper into the meaning of that yin yang, yin yang. I will try to explain that to you now, this concept of intimate behavior. First of all, if we look at intimate behavior in English, that can conjure up certain things in our mind. And the first thing I want to look at is relationships with other people. We're probably all familiar with that intimate behavior concept in that situation. And it's usually with family members and loved ones. So in order to have that type of behavior, it's neither overbearing or carefree. We're not trying to harm anyone or let them go about doing things without trying to help them. So it's neither too hard nor too soft. It's just the right amount of each of those. And it's founded on caring and nurturing, a little bit of control, some redirection, as is required for the situation. And it does require mastery of expertly focused energy, our own energy, and mindfulness to carry out that intimate behavior. Another example I can use is that of food. When we're eating food, we have a certain relationship with food. Our purpose is to process the food to extract the nutrients. And in order to do that, we're not destroying the food, we're actually moving it around, redirecting it, positioning it with our tongue. And so we can say that sort of movement and positioning is somewhat soft in its approach. We're not actually destroying the food at that stage. We're putting it in the right position within our mouth so that our teeth can break it down. And that's the hard aspect of what's happening. So again, like the relationship with a family, it's neither too hard or too soft. It's just the right amount of each at the right moment. And if you think of it, we're always in control of it and we're not letting it go. So we're keeping it there to deal with it the way we need to deal with it. And that also requires mastery of our own expertly focused energy. And we've probably done it often enough through our lives that it's a subconscious behavior, but it still represents that intimate behavior. Now, if we consider the pillar and the other forms of Hung Gar, we can actually recognize that there are certain points of focus. And there are also certain movements in Hung Gar that we cannot really interpret as simply attacking or blocking. There is content in our forms that's actually designed to introduce different concepts to us. And that content includes such things as dynamic tension, introduction and training of various breathing techniques, and also promotion of the awareness of our health. So it's not all about blocking and striking. There's also content inside the forms to build awareness of our own body structure, to know the difference between hard and soft, and to become aware of our own balance and body position, and to understand the difference between strength, power, energy, internal, external, as well as be able to appreciate the benefit of combining mind and body. So all of these things can be taught to you by your Hung Gar Sifu and are important in the journey of learning Hung Gar. As we can imagine, any particular art form, including the martial arts, it actually contains an expression of ourselves. And these things that I've just explained to you all contribute to our own self-expression. So if we want to look at some of the things in Hung Gar that demonstrate this concept of yin yang, or intimate behavior, which I just explained, these and similar movements are found in many of our forms. And they introduce you to the concept of control, redirection, manipulation, not letting go, breaking down. Very importantly, it shows mastery and application of focused energy along the complete scale from hard to soft. And in terms of combining the footwork, we can see how in the four movements within the movement that we refer to as Kuen Bok, which has four movements, we first block and move away from the opponent, and then unexpectedly we step back in, ready to confront the opponent, and then we move forward to be deep inside the opponent's space, and then we finally strike. And this is an example of the strategic application of the intimate behavior that I just talked about in relation to the term yin yang. So let's now take a look at some of the more detailed attributes and characteristics of the dragon and also the other animals.